Story 1. The Shimmering Statue. Mark is not my real name. I'm changing the names for others' privacy too. I'll tell you why I can. Sleep, you'll find this a bit strange, but I swear it's all true. I'm friends with a guy, call him Bill, I worked with at the Crab House back in the day. We actually were on the same work shift together. Most weeks, that's kinda how we started hanging out. So Bill is friends with this other guy, Tony. We go to Tony's house. Tony also has a girlfriend we'll call Deb. Me and Bill were knocking back some beers with Tony and Deb at Tony's place. He's got a raw home with a concrete backyard in Baltimore County. I guess the name of the place is okay to say, but it's facing T. Alley or whatever. We either drink there or in the basement when a game is on, so we're there and we're talking about tarot and how Deb's been reading people their cards, and she wants to go buy some new wands. I used to play with tarot when I was younger, but no big deal. We're crushing it when Tony starts talking about how the New Age store has a back room for weekly meetings, the Open Pagan discussion group. They've got Wiccans and Voodoons and Norse mythology people. They all go there for their group. Tony's a cool guy, but he shoplifts a lot. He's always got magic. The gather in cards he pockets or candy or some bullshit wherever. Tony tells us about this one thing they have under the glass counter there, and he wants it. It's a figure, like a little statue. It's got a little card about the history standing up next to it. It's not for sale, he says. It's just for show. And he wants it. We go check it out. We ride up there in Tony's car. He's got a Dodge Charger. Remember that later the New Age store smelled strongly of incense. As we enter, we see the glass counter on the left with items inside and a cash register on top. On the right are bookshelves, one displaying tarot cards in various styles, the other with a display of stuffed animal toy cats with wings and glittery unicorns. Ahead are a $1 book bin, some shelves, and the left are stacked with jars of loose dry herbs for rituals, and in the middle are more books. There's an open door to a mostly empty back room with a table and some metal folding chairs. I check out the statue when we get there. It's this little black stone statue, about 4 or 5 inches tall and shaped like a tentacled monster. The color is some kind of shimmery, NG black, but with a greenish sheen, if that makes any sense. We talk to the lady behind the counter, and the guy who owns the shop comes over and tells us he's just borrowing the statue. He is holding it until the owner of the statue gets back from the Amazon. Then they're taking it to a museum to put it on a showcase. Cool. Except Tony gets this look in his eyes, especially when the owner tells us the legend, and we're like, oh, it's a supposedly cursed statue. It makes people immune to death or harm, but also brings their doom. Tony proposes later over beers that we do a heist. He says he can unlock the shop back door with a shim and we can steal the statue. For a laugh is how he puts it. I'm hesitant. Bill wants to go through with it. Thinks it'll be fun. Deb does whatever Tony does. I eventually relent. Now, to be perfectly clear here, I'm an idiot. We're all idiots. We do what Tony wants. He's this kind of electric personality. We meet back up that night around 10. I'm wearing black jeans and a black hoodie. My shoes are brown. Bill wears green army camouflage. Deb and Tony They're also dressed in black. I've done a lot of 20/20ths, hindsight thinking, and there are about a billion different ways this could have ended before it started, but there we were. We walk to the shopping center and stick to the backs of the buildings. The New Age store is at the end of a row of stores, so we easily slip right up to it. Nobody is even around. It's going on midnight. One thing Tony knows for sure, he says, is that the New Age place's cameras are all fake. He's scoped it out beforehand, has pocketed a few small things to test it. When we come up to the metal door on the back of the store, he pulls out a little brass tool, like a little J-shaped baby trumpet. He sticks it between the gap of the door, lines it up with the lock, and turns the knob on the tool. The door pops right open. Genius, in for a penny, in for a pound. We go inside. Tony produces a knife and holds it out in front of him. That should have been a red flag. We Scooby-Doo it on into the store and straight to the front case. From the cashier's side, T's not even locked. The door just slides right open. The register is hanging open and empty. Tony tells Bill to get the statue. He does it. No alarm goes off. Okay, so far so good. This is way. And it goes to shit. We're skulking into the back room again. On our way out, when out steps the shop owner, and he's pretty pissed. We bolt. Dill's got the statue. Tony's got his knife. Out I run. Deb runs. As I'm stepping out of the store, I see Tony is right up in front of the owner, and then a moment later he's outside with us. Book it, he tells us. So apparently Bill stumbles hard at the tree line, but nobody really notices, and Bill isn't fazed. Listen, we're at Tony's basement, and Bill hands over Tony's statue. As soon as he does, his leg buckles under him and he twists, teases his ankle. I'm telling you, he was fine up until that moment. After pausing for a beat, Tony says he's going to try something. Then he uses the tip of his knife to prick his palm. Nothing happens. No blood. Then he passes the statue to Deb. Immediately his open palm oozes out some blood, which he quickly presses to his mouth. Hey, Debbie, let me cut you, he says. Tony proceeds to jab and feint at her threateningly with his knife. No, Tony, stop. I'm not kidding, Tony. She is backing up. No, you asshole. Here, take your stupid thing back here. I don't want it. I will, he says. Tony takes back the statue, looking pissed off at being called an asshole. Time passes. It's a while later, and we're all a little drunk. Well, actually, Tony's very drunk. He has left the basement and come back by this time and is keeping something in the front pocket of his hoodie. Let's play Russian roulette, he says out of nowhere. Bill chuffs. Yeah, right, he says. But then Tony pulls a pistol from his kangaroo pocket. It's a revolver. The temperature in the room immediately drops, and my heart skips a beat. Oh, Jesus, Tony. Not that thing again. Deb says we're all feeling the same dread. See, Tony has this problem with anger management. It is entirely not out of character for him to pull a gun out of nowhere, and it's especially like him to tease us with it. We're playing, he states firmly. No, says Deb. Tony, no. Bill starts to object, but Tony stares him down and he chaos away. The game is we have to hold the statue and then take a turn firing the gun at our own head. Tony, with the statue in hand, immediately turns the gun on himself and pulls the trigger. The gun dry fires and makes a loud click as the cylinder revolves. Then it's my turn. I take the statue. The polished sheen is smooth, and it feels warm in my hand. I'm holding my breath. I touch the muzzle of the pistol T. Oh, my right temple. I don't want to die. I realize he never showed us if the gun only has one bullet. I exhale slowly and squeeze the trigger. The loud click next to my ear is the scariest sound I've ever heard in my life. I breathe again and pass the gun and statue to Bill. No, says Tony. I want it to be Debbie's turn. He knows she hates being called Debbie. Bill, he citates. Do it, says Tony. God. Bill pushes the gun and statue into Deb's reluctant hands. Tony, no. He glowers darkly, daring her defiance. Tony, I'm scared, she says, please. Tony, come on, Tony. It's not her turn, I say, trying awkwardly to help Deb. Who am I kidding? It's not a great plan. Deb gives the things over to Bill. Bill's eyes go wide. Looking hunted, he takes the statue. He looks to Tony for a reaction. Yeah. Okay, says Tony. Bill is trembling. He takes the gun. He points it at his temple. Click. The gun dry fires in his hand. He blanches. He sets both items down on the floor like they're too hot to touch. Deb makes no move to pick them up. I don't want to play, she says, her voice quavering. Oh, you're playing, Debbie. He put the inflection on the second syllable of her name, really driving his point home. She dare not defy him again, he was saying. Tony is staring daggers at her as he picks up the pistol. Take up the statue, Debbie, or I'll shove it down your throat. She's crying now, please. She breathes, nearly voiceless. Please, no. It's your turn, T. Take the statue. I demand that you pick it up, he roars. He raises the gun, sharply, hyperextending his elbow, aiming at her face. Defeated, silently sobbing through her tears, she reaches down slowly and picks up the statue. The percussive explosive on from the muzzle of the gun makes us all jump back, except Tony. His eyes are blazing. The rictus across his face neither grimace nor grin, cold as the dead, seemingly in slow motion. My adrenaline, any pumping. I watch the bullet exit the gun. I watch it fly the distance to Deb. I watch it enter her face. God in heaven. I see it go into her face. Time kicks back in. My ears are ringing. My heart is palpitating. I am shocked. She absorbed the bullet. Is that what I saw? She did it. I don't know how, but she did it. She absorbed the bullet into her face and then sat there with a horrified expression, but remaining completely uninjured. Everything is silent for just a moment. Tony is the first to move. He hoots. He is excited. He laughs maniacally. Bill looks pale, like he might be sick. Deb is wide-eyed, frozen. Now, whatever you do, Tony says, sounding like a smiling schoolteacher, don't put the statue down, ever. She doesn't know how to react. I want to go home. Tony gathers Deb into his smiling embrace and suddenly sounds like a different man, like a jolly uncle. He consoles her, gently jokes with her, generally tries to cheer her up. He assures her that she'd be fine if she just hangs on to the statue, and he doesn't even want it anyway. She can keep it. She's freaked out, but okay. He sends her home, and we all break for the night. I go home and get some rest. I have to sleep off all this excitement. So it's over for the night, or so we think. What I find out later is that during the night, Tony snuck into her house overnight wearing gloves, wiped all his prints off his gun, and put it in her father's hand. Then he slipped into her room and stole the statue while she slept. Her face and head were basically obliterated, and she would have to have a closed casket at her funeral. Her father swore up and down his innocence, but he went down hard with the law, else. You're the shop owner of the New Age store was also dead. On the floor, the police didn't connect the two murders. Deland and we had no idea of this the next morning when we met up at 2. Nice again that day. He kept a straight face and seemed as shocked as we were when we heard the news. She must have dropped the statue, he says. Where's the statue now, we wonder. He has no idea. It's not until weeks later, after the funeral and everything had come back down, that we saw him with the statue again. I was astonished. He was nonchalant. This is at his place again. We're in his domain. He's got control of the statue and the room. I accuse him, he shrugs. I threaten to call the cops. He taunts, go ahead. It turns quickly into an argument. He storms out. I storm after him. Bill stays put, hands up, palms forward, and declaring himself out of it. Tony gets into his Dodge Charger. I stomp to the passenger's side and get in. I cross my arms and try to look mean and serious. He looks bored and waves me away with the back of his hand. I buckle myself, still shouting accusations. He shrugs. He starts the car and drives. He gets onto the open road and starts to accelerate. He's going fast and getting faster. Trees and buildings fly past to the left and right of us, ... I glare at him and reach to buckle my seatbelt. He looks smug and deliberately doesn't buckle in. He's counting on the statue saving him. If we crash, we're passing other cars, fast. Too fast, I snake my hand out to swipe the statue out of his hand. He pulls it away and hits me in the nose with his elbow. Now he's talking. Now he's cursing me. We're both shouting as he jerks the wheel sharply to the right, and we hurtle down a side street. We're passing pedestrians, parked cars, houses, a lady walking her dog, a toddler on a tricycle, his father guiding him with his hand on the child's back. I'm telling him to stop. I'm pretty scared, and I want to get out of the car. Fuck you, Mark, he says. He yanks the steering wheel to the left, slaloms a lamppost, takes us up a smaller street. I know where we are. We're on a dead-end road. We've got maybe a mile before the road runs out, and after that it's nothing but trees. He's laying on the accelerator hard. We're going to die. I look at the statue. I grab for it. He yanks it away. I'm scrabbling across him while he's jerking the wheel and weaving down the road. Here it comes, the dead end. A short guardrail and a red sign, and that's all that's between us. And deadly trees. I'm grabbing. He's taking us up the curb. He's going to skirt the guardrail and aim us at a tree. He's laughing like a maniac. I'm desperate and panicking. I grab his head, pull it near, not even trying to hurt him, just pulling his arm with that statue closer so I can grab it. Trees, impact in 5, 4, 3, I grab it. My fingers curl around the statue. I feel the sweat on his hand, his tight fist losing its grip on the statue. 2. I have it. 1. The world explodes. It's minutes later. I've woken up from an apparent blackout. The airbags are out and deflated. The turn signal is clicking. Tony is dead or dying. Even with the airbag, he'd still been slammed so hard that he'd been launched at the window, his head and fac. He are a bloody mess. He's not responding when I say his name. I unbuckle, the statue is in my hand. I wrestle the door open. I get up and out of the car. I'm walking and I'm fine. I'm completely okay. I clutch the statue close. I'm a block or two down the road before sirens come screaming past, on their way to Tony's car and his shattered body. I get home. I clutch the statue. I hold it tight while I take a shower. I dare not let it go. If the crash would have killed me, it'll catch up as soon as I let go of the statue. I'm writing this with one hand. My left hand is holding the statue and wrapped in duct tape. I'm telling you what happened today, and I can't risk ever dropping the statue. It's my whole life now, and I don't dare fall asleep. Story 2. A Christmas story. I sigh, stretch, and push myself away from my laptop. I let the chair spin before lazily dragging my foot to stop it. I had been working on a new story, one about Christmas and the horrors it includes. It was pretty cheesy, and all the ideas felt recycled. Psycho elves, murderous Santas, hungry reindeer, you know the drill. I want to give up, but I have abandoned enough projects. My cat, Sam, rubs against my legs and purrs. I pick him up and he lays on my lap for a minute. Sometimes I don't mind this life. I stay by myself and nobody bothers me. It's moments like this that I feel guiltiest for wanting more. I know I've got nothing going on. If I died right now in my chair, nobody would notice. I look at the time and realize it's past midnight already. I pull myself out of my chair and flop face first on my bed. I rearrange my covers and close my eyes. Right as I drift off, I swear I hear tiny footsteps, a giggle, and the ring of a bell. My eyes snap open. I prop myself up on my elbows and check my clock. It's only 2 a.m. I look out the window and see snow. It's Christmas Day. I can't believe I forgot. The snow is falling so perfectly it almost feels like my story. I hear that damn bell again and turn towards my door. I cautiously walk out of my room and turn my hallway light on. I quietly make my way downstairs and turn on all the lights in my house. Nobody's here. I notice a present under my tree. It's a medium-sized box wrapped in dark red paper. I don't remember putting it there. I kneel down as I approach the box. I carefully tear off the paper. The box is red, too. I open the box and immediately vomit. My cat is in it, his formerly gray and black striped body now red. An eyeball has fallen out of its socket. His entrails have been used to tie his paws together, mutilated beyond recognition. The only way I know it's him is because of his dark blue collar sitting on top of his matted fur. I vomit again and start crying. I pick up his collar. His name has been crossed out. I run back up to my room and slam the door. On my wall, Merry Christmas has been written on my walls in what looks like blood. I run to my computer to check for internet connectivity. My phone was left downstairs, so that is out of the question. My computer turns on, and there, displayed on the screen, is my story. I read through it, and it starts sounding familiar. The main character's pet gets brutally slaughtered, and Then the main character must fight for her life against Christmas gone wrong. I know what will happen next, and I'm terrified. Every cliché in the book is about to become alive. Everything that I laugh at in my stories is about to kill me. I do a quick check of my closet and under my bed before plopping myself down in front of the door. I start crying again, but shut up when I hear something prancing on the rooftop, and right on cue, out jumps good old Santa Claus. The reindeer are here. I scramble to my feet and start barricading my door. I hear slow, heavy steps coming up my stairs. I open my window and throw my fire ladder out. I run to my backpack, empty it out, and put my laptop in it. I need to keep track of my enemies. Suddenly, I'm determined to survive. I pull my tangled hair into a ponytail, slip on shoes, and put on my jacket. Something star. Tea's pounding on my door. I swing my leg, go over the windowsill, and start climbing down. My door splinters open, and two elves riding a reindeer burst through. I consider jumping, but I'm on the second floor. I climb faster, but only get about halfway down before I see an elf peek out the window. He looks like something you would see in a Christmas movie. He has pink, rosy cheeks and shiny black hair. He smiles cruelly and pulls out a knife to cut my rope. He smiles and waves as I fall. At first, I can't breathe. I desperately gasp before finally getting a short breath. Something cold lands on my face. I feel around me. I landed on snow. It's snowing. The wind picks up. It's like it started just for me. I start laughing. My hysterical laughter rings through the yard. I wave my arms around me, making the strange snow angel ... I stand back up, brushing off my clothes, and bump my backpack. My laptop. I landed right on top of it. I can't believe I forgot about it. I shrug my bag off and unzip it. My computer is into pieces. I don't know what to do next. I can't remember what happens next. How will I survive? No, I say to myself, I will not be beaten by a children's legend and furries. I decide to go in through the back door, mainly because my fence is too tall to climb. I must have left it unlocked last night, because it swings open with ease. I don to trust this, but I'm out of choices and time. A horrifying scene greets me upon entry. The walls are streaked with blood. It looks fresh. The stove has a big pot boiling on it. I take a knife from the block and slowly approach it. I turn off the gas and peek inside. In it, there's a bright red Santa hat. Why would he boil his own hat? Nothing they do makes sense. This isn't how the story goes. I broke the only copy of the story, so it should stop, right? What if, since they aren't bound to the story, they are free? If they are free, only one thing will distinguish my character from me. My character will have survived. I grip the knife tighter and continue through the kitchen. I make my way through the living room and back to the Christmas tree. The préce and tea is gone, but the memory and bloodstains are not. I hear bells again. I whip around violently and face the chimney. I hear someone softly chanting ho, ho, ho over and over. I want to scream and cover my ears. Do anything to stop it. It's not jolly or happy, just a monotonous mantra. I want to light a fire under his ass, but the logs have been removed. Instead and back upstairs, knowing they're all watching me, chasing me. I'm not just paranoid. I can hear them whispering, laughing at me. Following me, I slide under my bed. My elbow hits something and I feel a sharp, stabbing pain. I pull the mystery object out of my arm and inspect it. It's a piece of wood. It's painted midnight blue with silver and gold stars. It's a part of my door. My door has been destroyed and is scattered around my room. I have no other cover. Heavy, deliberate footsteps ascend my staircase, followed by light, quick ones. The heavy ones must be Santa and the leg. HT ones must be the elves. His reindeer are gone. Shiny black boots appear at my door and I hold my breath. They slowly meander over to my bed and stand in front of it. I remember that when I was little, I was scared of Santa. I refused to sit on his lap or write letters or recognize Christmas. For me, it was just another day. I'm not sure why I was so scared of Santa back then, but I know why I'm scared now, in all honesty. I feel I have the right to be petrified of Santa if I survive this. Who am I kidding? There's no way I stand a chance. There are no superheroes to save me. No mom to sit with me so she could just get one goddamn picture. My name is Aubrey Green. I am 24 years old. Last week was my birthday. I have red frizzy hair and freckles. I for a living. I never met my neighbors. I haven't spoken to my mother in almost a year, and I haven't seen my dad since I was 10. I was bullied a lot as a kid and have self-harm scars. I'm still wearing my pajamas, a pink and black tank top, black shorts, and pink knee-high socks that look like cats. I hear sirens. In a few hours, my mother will receive a call. She'll fall to her knees and cry, but she'll be okay in time. The sirens are closer, but not close enough. Someone cared about me enough to call for help. The only problem is, soon, none of that will matter, because in a few seconds I will be dead. Story 3, The Late Show. They move again tonight. I lay and watch them. Seeing as it's all I can do, they slip and slide through the steamer. Heat lamp window curtain, shaded light, and I know my eyes have begun to fail, or perhaps the eyes are fine and my mind is finally going from the pain and boredom. Dying is a lonely business. The shadows dance me to sleep and I dream again of Eileen. It starts out well, more relived memory than dream. I see her bent over that diner counter in a light pink poodle skirt pointing to a slice of warm pecan pie, and I laugh a little. It sounds like my present-day laugh, a harsh, phlegm-filled bark, as the same old thought rolled through my head. What an ass on her. People act like we were all chaste and proper back then. But hormones never change. My domineering thought in those days was the best way to get her, or any girl for that matter, into the back seat of a '57 Chevy. She turns, her curly, carrot-colored hair slipping down her shoulders, and I scream myself awake. I cough up a lung and try to blink away the vision. Her face wasn't young and clean as it howled Ben, as it had been all those years ago. Instead, it was dark, ruddy, and rotted, as I imagined her to be now 6 feet down and moldering. The door opens, and the creak sends a chill down water, and I can still feel my spine. My breath stops, held. It is only Joan, my home hospice worker, and not dear dead Eileen, that steps through. "Everything all right, Mr. Jenkins?" she asks. "Well," I mumble, God, when did my voice get so damn weak? I'm 79. My legs don't work, and it's quite possible I've shit myself. So it's a resounding no. She chuckles. I always could make the girls laugh. I'll check you, she says. Time for your meds anyway. Whoopee, I reply. Make it a double. Joan does her business of clean. Hang up my business. Tabs a long thick needle through the thin skin of my arm and disappears. I close my eyes, but sleep doesn't come. My eyes pry back open and I catch my breath. The shadows have moved again. I know. Shadows move. I'm old, not crazy. At least, not yet. The darkness pools into the center of the ceiling. No light to cast them that way. They stretch and form into a humanoid shape, tall and amorpho. U.S., like a thin man in a shroud, like death. I realize. I wonder if this is it. If so, break out the scythe. I'm too old to fear the reaper anymore. No scythe comes instead. The figure cocks its head to the side like a confused child, then swirls into a ball again. I watch, confused as a child myself, as the shadows split. I realize a scene is taking form in silhouette. A flat, straight line of shadow runs across the ceiling. Other shadows rise from it, forming little more than stick figures, but people just the same. More and more lines move out and I smile. I know what I am seeing now, what the shadows form, even if it is just a drug or dying-induced hallucination. There was the ringmaster. Top hat and all, he gestured to the right, to a lion. In caricature, a man with a whip made of darkness dancing. Before it, there was the trapeze, a stick man or woman, I suppose. Don't ask me the sex of shadows flying through the air with the greatest of ease and cannons and clowns and little stick shadow, monkeys and laughter like I hadn't heard in ages. The racking coughs come to remind me that all things, even laughter, require payment. The circus packed up as I wheezed, the cloak pack cocking its head again at a different angle, almost one of concern. The coughing wouldn't stop, the ache in my guts growing steadily worse from the strain as Joan threw open the door, the light from the doorway causing the shadows to dart to the corner of the room. We never use the room light unless absolutely necessary. It who? RT, my eyes. She pulled me up into a sitting position, and the coughing finally subsided. Thank you, I wheezed as she eased me back down onto the bed. That's why I am here, she said. Now you try and rest. I barely heard her. I was looking at the ceiling, at the shadows. The shadows encircled her head as she leaned over me, but there was no laughter now, no ringmaster. It had been replaced with writhing monstrosity of ink black, tentacles around a gaping mouth filled with jagged shadow teeth. Centered in the mouth was Joan's plain-faced, mousy-haired head. I wheezed out no, as loud as I could. But it came as nothing more than a whisper. The mouth began to close. I had no idea if the shadows, or whatever they were, could hurt her, but I wouldn't let them if I could stop it. Joan just smiled, said, "You rest now," and turned to leave undevoured. I concentrated on the shadows. As she made her way across the room, they seemed to draw back from her presence, as if in fear, the monster turning to a cowering boy, its arm extended, pointing as if in accusation. "I don't understand," I whispered. The ball of shadow roiled, a move that made me think of frustration, and did so until sleep finally took me. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. I lay waiting for the day to pass. Same as old days now, filled with hot broth and bad TV. But this day, owls, oh, held anticipation. I didn't know if I would see the shadows again, but I hoped, even if they were just the symptoms of an old, dying mind. Finally, the sunlight crept its way out of the window. The only muted light left, that of the street lamp outside. I sighed and closed my eyes, waiting for something I was sure would never come. I dozed off a half hour or so before I opened my eyes again. The shadow ball shimmered on the ceiling. The shimmering seemed to grow more intense as I smiled up at it. Then it split, a new scene for a new night, a western this time with eight-figure saloon girls and dueling cowboys, even a stagecoach robbery. The shadows recoiled as the door opened, spilling a crack of light into the room. Joan entered, syringe in hand. She said something, but I didn't hear. All my faculties were focused on the ceiling. The shadows swirled around her again, careful of the beam of light from the hallway. The monster was back, its mouth a silent roar aimed at Joan. Then the monster became the cloak of death, its silhouette head staring down at me, two open spots of ceiling for eyes. The image shook and I realized it was moving back and forth as if it was shaking its head. No, a hand reached from the dark mass, skeletal in its thinness, and pointed at Joan and at the syringe that slid effortlessly into my arm. What is that? I asked her. Just medicine, she replied. Just what the doctor ordered. Sure, I said, and watched her leave. As whatever it was coursed through my veins, I took a deep, rattling breath and let it all go. Dying is rough. Being dead, not so bad, to be honest, at least not here. I've heard talk of somewhere else. Somewhere I never want to see. There are lots of things on this side, not just people, but things that have never roamed our world. Eileen is here, and the baby we lost so long ago, and there are things here just like giving the dying a few moments of happiness, even if they're taken before their time, like I was. Though it's not easy to communicate with the other side, we can see and hear it all if we want. As I watch Joan's trembling hands tie the noose, as the shadows on the walls around her cast reflections of horrid, sharp-toothed things, I realize I don't hate her, at least not for the arsenic she pumped into my system. I was old and missed my wife. She probably did me a favor. That's not why the shadows, and I did this, drove her to this. See, I wasn't her first, and I wouldn't be her last. Time is funny here. You can see it if you look hard enough, even the future, possible ones anyway. And whether Joan had stayed in hospice, or like in so many futures went into neonatal care, it was always the same. See, I wasn't her first, but I'll make damn sure I'm her last. Story 4, Toys in the Attic. Christmas has always been a hard time for me. Childhood memories of bickering relatives, drunken tirades, and hostile dinner conversations made me wince at the mere mention of the holiday. In the Christmas of 1989, I broke my collarbone on my new toboggan. In the Christmas of 1997, my brother drove the family car into a lamppost. And in the Christmas of 2000, my grandmother set the kitchen ablaze while attempting to cook a turkey. But it wasn't until the Christmas of 2008 that a real tragedy occurred. Jennifer and I met in the fall of 2002, engaged in the winter of 2004, and married in the summer of 2006. She gave birth to our son, Noah, in the spring of 2008. This was our first Christmas together as a family. It was a beautiful new model home in a quiet neighborhood in a peaceful little town. It was just a few days before Christmas when he broke in. I was staying late at the office before locking up for the holidays. He didn't take anything. He didn't move a single thing out of place. He just walked up to IRS and went after her. The police called it the most senseless and animalistic act they had ever seen, and somehow with her blood painting the walls they still never managed to find the monster who did it. And I would never know why it happened. This year was going to be a new start for us. Despite the Scrooge-like demeanor I developed every year at this time, Noah loved Christmas at almost 88 years old. He didn't have much to say, but everything he did say had to do with stories of Santa, elves, and reindeer. The little scoundrel was a better sleuth than he was a conversationalist. Last year he managed to find his Christmas presents behind my tool bench in the garage. What this year his presents were going into the attic where I knew he couldn't get to them. The mid-century home we purchased after Jennifer's passing had much older antiquated attic stairs than our old home did. I had just finished packing the Christmas presents when in that dusty old attic when I realized it was time for his school bus to be dropping him off. As I pushed the heavy attic staircase up, I had a smirk of satisfaction. That child was not making his way up those steps. It was December 11th. Christmas Day was still 2 weeks away. My parents weren't arriving until the 18th. The holiday shopping was done, and school was now out until January, so Noah and I were going to have a few days of holiday bonding all to ourselves. This might have been the first Christmas in many years that I would truly get to enjoy. 5 nights ago, Noah stayed up a little later watching holiday specials on the television. He went to sleep around 8:30, and I went to bed shortly thereafter. It wasn't until 11 o'clock when I first heard those light footsteps scattering across the hall. I suddenly became alert as the footsteps stopped at my door. I sat up as the door slowly began to creak open. It was Noah. I was put at ease at the sight of him, but I was a little alarmed that he was up this late. He never stayed up past 9 o'clock, let alone wandered over to my room at this time. Noah, what are you doing out of bed this late? Daddy, oh, you believe in Santa Claus. What do you? I was taken a little off guard by the question, but I decided to put his mind at ease. Yes, of course, I believe in Santa Claus. Why do you ask? Okay, that's good because he needs to know that we believe in him. I know, Noah. Now go back to bed. He smiled before closing the door. I heard his footsteps scattering back down the hall to his bedroom as I quickly drifted off to sleep. 4 nights ago, Noah and I were making Christmas cards for the relatives who would be arriving in the following days. We had construction paper, glitter, scissors, and glue. It was quite a messy scene, but I thought he deserved to have a little fun on his first day of vacation. After finishing up the cards, I began to gather them all up and look them over with Noah there, as one for Grandpa and Grandma, and one for Uncle John, and I paused at the sight of a card addressed to no one in the family. Who is this card for? Noah? It's for Santa Claus. He would be really happy if we made him a card, too. I smirked at Noah's thoughtfulness and added it to the pile. Later that night I was awoken by a crashing noise. Suddenly I heard the footsteps sputtering towards my room again with more urgency. No, this is the second night in a row. You still believe in Santa, right? Yes, I already told you the tea yesterday. Okay, I don't think Santa knows that. But thanks, Noah. What was that crashing noise I just heard? Noah shrugged his shoulders in ignorance and scurried back to his bedroom. I was too tired to argue with him. I was probably just imagining it. I drifted back to sleep. 3 nights ago, I was sitting in front of the television watching a football game. Oh no, was drawing with his crayons beside me. During breaks, I became increasingly curious as to what he was drawing. When he left the room, I picked it up and realized it wasn't a drawing. It was a list. Hey, Noah, is this your list to Santa Claus? Yeah, Santa told me I have to write him one. Do you think you can mail it to him in time? No, I can just leave it here, and he know. That's what I want because he's magic. I nodded at his flawless logic and handed it back to him. Later that night I heard the scurrying of footsteps across the hall again. I was growing impatient with Noah's sleep cycle, but I was still awake reading at this time anyway. But he didn't come into my room that night. He just stood in front of the door for a moment and ran back to his room. 2 nights ago, I decided to sit down with Noah and ask him about his late night wandering. He suddenly became nervous when asked, but he finally uttered that he was waiting for Santa to come with his sleigh and reindeer. I couldn't help but smile at this. Santa won't be coming until Christmas, though. No, we've got a few more days to wait. He seemingly brushed my statement off and made an odd request. Can we leave him some milk and cookies for when he gets hungry? I wasn't going to argue with him. I'd just make him a deal. All right. But if we do, you have to promise to stop. Why in your bed after bedtime? Okay. He nodded excitedly, but he didn't seem as happy about Santa's arrival as he did a few days ago. I guessed that he was getting burnt out from waiting so long. Later that night, his scurrying of footsteps began again. At first, they were faint, but then they headed straight to my room. I was more than a little upset at this point as my door opened. Noah, what I told you to stay in bed. He came and ate them. Dad, what the milk and cookies? Santa came. I marched downstairs and had to admit I was surprised to see milk and cookies gone. But this wasn't a difficult trick to pull off, either. I was done with this game. Noah, Santa isn't coming until next week. And if you keep making up stories and getting out of bed, he's not coming at all. Do you understand? Noah's face turned to tears as he ran back up to his room and shut the door. I didn't want to be so mean, but there was only so much foolishness I could talk. At this time, last night, things got very weird. Noah did not speak to me for most of the day. I finally apologized and told him just to stop making up stories. He seemed to be focusing elsewhere, though I didn't like the disrespectful attitude he was developing. Would you like to tell the truth about who ate the milk and cookies last night? He just pouted at me with an angry look. He ran back to his room and came back with a folded piece of construction paper. I thought this was his apology. That was until he spoke. This is a card from Santa. He told me to give this to you. I finally lost it. I took the card and crumpled it up without even bothering to read it. I threw it into the trash bin right in front of Noah. Noah, I don't know what's gotten into you, but Christmas is going to be canceled if you don't stop with these stupid little games. What do you want from me? I want my mom and Dad to be back together. He once again rushed off to his room in tears. I felt guilty for managing to make him cry twice in 2 days. We never really talked about his mother. He had every right to be upset now that he was older and was beginning to understand her absence. I let him cool down for a while. I decided to let him sleep in my room, both to comfort him and to keep an eye on him. It wasn't until 11 o'clock last night that he once again woke up. Dad, it's time. I was angry at being awoken at this hour again, but decided to be patient with Noah. Time for what, Noah? Santa has a surprise waiting for us downstairs. I was beginning to get a little nervous at Noah's delusions, but I finally decided to play along. Noah dragged me downstairs and into the living room. When I saw it for myself, I quickly became scared for a different reason altogether. The tree was lit up and all the presents from the attic were laid around the tree. Noah, how did you get all these down here? I didn't do it. Dad, Santa did. The hairs on my back began to stand on end. There was no way Noah could have lifted all these gifts or even gotten into the attic to find them. And how did Santa get into the attic to get them? Noah turned to me and meekly replied, "He's been living up there all week, Dad. He made me promise to keep it a secret." My jaw dropped as I tried to remain cool. "Oh, is Santa still in the house?" Noah paused for a moment before answering. "No, he said he had to leave after you found your surprise. And after you read his letter, my breathing became heavier. As I started to panic and fear, I rushed across the house towards the wastebasket. I pulled out the crumpled letter I had thrown there earlier and opened it. The front of the card was written in eloquent handwriting. "All you want for Christmas." I slowly opened the inside of the letter. I almost burst into tears at the sight of it. It was a picture of Jennifer and me, taken days before her death. Written in blood across the picture was "Together again soon." My hands were shaking. I couldn't even move. He was back, and he was going to finish what he started. On the back of the car, there was no blood. There was no ominous message, just one simple little line. Ho, 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 Story 5. Only following orders. The story you are about to read is one that has been, for the last 70 years, left to wither in the hearts of those few who recall it. Of the 12 of us present that day, only I remain, and my own end is rapidly approaching. I write this tale with shaky hand, solely in order to console myself in my final moments, and I hope anyone who may discover this document will refrain from passing judgment upon me or my comrades. Until the end, I distinctly recall sitting in a tent with my fellow soldiers just outside of Berlin, huddling around a shortwave radio and listening to the trials of our nation's greatest foes. They feigned insanity, pled guilty, gave harrowing accounts of every detail and every single crime committed by their hand or under their watch. My favorites, however, were the ones who pled innocent, the ones who said I was just following orders. I had to wonder what I would say had the war ended with Moscow under the Iron Eagle. What would I say if asked to justify my actions in war? I believe I know exactly what I would say, and it would be the same as the men being jeered by the entire Red Army, excluding the 10 of us gathered in the tent. You see, the 2 luckiest of us had already died. It was a quiet village in eastern Germany, December 24th, 1944. We were under orders to seek out any soldiers lying in wait to ambush the main column of the army. Our sergeant, Ivan, took the lead, the hasty of us falling in behind him. It was raining heavily, obscuring our vision. A sharp crack jerked me to attention, and I immediately fell to my stomach. I smelled smoke and heard a thump in the dirt. A dozen feet ahead of me, the sound of gunfire roared in my ears as we returned fire. We had no idea where the shot had come from, so each among us took our best guess and fired in that direction, and we knew we would not hit the shooter, but we had hoped. To scare him off, I decided to hold my fire in order to cover my comrades as they reloaded their weapons. When the gunfire stopped, I watched carefully the nearby houses. A quick movement by a roadside fence caught my eye, and I quickly shot off a couple of rounds at the dark mass. At least one of my shots must have landed, because SE or whatever it was fell to the ground, unmoving. By now, my fellow soldiers had finished reloading, and so I ejected my magazine and slid a new one in its place. We were still for some time, waiting for the returning fire. When it never came, Ivan came up to a crouch and quietly walked over to the corpse. He felt the pulse and then returned to us. "Yes, we got him," he said. In his eyes I saw something I hadn't seen before, a kind of deep sadness and regret. No matter how I pushed, he would not tell me why. We stood and casually walked over to the house where his shooter had come from. Ivan knocked on the door. We waited a moment, and Ivan firmly planted his foot on the floor, rearing to kick the door down, when a shotgun blast blew through the door. Ivan fell to the ground, riddled with buckshot. We returned fire through the door, then swiftly beat it down with the stock of our rifles. Inside, broken glass littered the floor and bullet holes scattered along the walls. On the ground was a young woman, shot fatally 4 times, in her hand the shotgun that killed Ivan. We had had more than enough of this village. We ransacked the house, throwing over tables and filling our pockets with valuables. When we had finished, he threw gas lamps onto the floor and tossed matches on the pooling liquid. We left the house on fire. It was only once we were outside again that we heard the wailing. By then the flames had taken hold, and it was too late to re-enter the building. The mother had hidden her babe before turning to feed us, and we hadn't found it before torching the house. The wails continued for just a few minutes before falling silent among the crackling of flames. A man burst from a building down the street and sprinted toward us, screaming in German. Our translator gaped at him, and when we raised our rifles, he held up his hand to stop us. The German man shoved past us and up to the burning building. He hesitated only briefly at the doorway before running through. He didn't come back out. By the time the fire had died, we couldn't see it anymore. The rest of our mission went by in silence. When we doubled back to where we came, we found people standing in the street, staring at us. Some were angry, some sad, but most had just a blank stare. I still see it in my NI. GHT Mares ... When we passed the house, I stopped. I announced to no one in particular that I had to take a leak. No one believed it, but that didn't matter. I stepped into the shell of the house we had destroyed. There, on the floor in the bedroom, I saw the skeleton of a man crushed under a wooden beam, a smaller collection of misshapen bones in his arms. In the yard, by the fence, I saw a little boy with a toy gun, dressed in the oversized uniform of a German soldier. That night, we all had nightmares. The man, with his wild eyes, told each of us that he would be back for us. One after the other, the next day, we had laughed it off. Together, we had thrown ourselves into our duties. We had fought hard not to think about the screaming man and the wailing baby, one by one. As the years went by, we died. Here, one of us fell from a tower we were constructing. There, an aggressive form of cancer that suddenly appeared in the brain. Never obvious, but always suspicious to us, because we all knew what was happening. When there were two of us, just Iosif and I, he had come to visit me. When he had knocked, I thought my time had come, but I should. Then known I would be last. He's coming for me, Iosif had said. It is my time now. I would have liked to console him, to assure him it was all a coincidence. But we both knew better. At night, Iosif cried on my shoulder, and I on his. I'm so sorry. He had sobbed. I didn't know. The next day, he shot himself in his apartment. That was 1 week ago, and now it is my turn. I know he is coming. Every night in my sleep he gazes into my eyes and smiles. Every night he smiles wider. Last night he began to speak, quietly, so quiet I cannot hear any of what he says, other than Mac. He out that he is speaking. I don't want to hear what he has to say. I cannot sleep tonight. I will stay up as late as possible, and before I sleep I will climb to the roof and stand on the edge. I cannot know what he will say. The shot at us. The woman killed Ivan. We couldn't have known about the baby. We were just eliminating the resistance. That's all. We were only following orders. Story 6. A strange village. Mayuko's Game Boy suddenly turned off. She rolled her eyes and let out a loud sigh. The stupid thing ran out of batteries. Again, Yuko shoved it inside her backpack and looked around. Surprisingly enough, the wagon was completely empty, aside from herself. Usually, the train would be full of exhausted businessmen, annoying teenagers, and girls like Mayuko. Girls going home after a tiring day at school, some reading books, others chatting with their best friends. But this time there was no one else but Mayuko at the wagon. The train was silent, and Mayuko could hear her own breath. Something felt wrong. The air was eerily still. She looked out the window, trying to shake the strained feeling off. Her eyes widened as she realized it was already dark outside. How much time had passed already? Mayuko was desperate. What would her mother think? Where was the train going? Mayuko sat on the ground, tears rolling down her face. She was just 13 years old. Nothing like that had ever happened to her. She shut her eyes, expecting someone to come and help her, and suddenly the train stopped. Mayuko opened her eyes and looked around, and found she was surrounded by darkness. She was frozen in place, shaking and crying, thinking about what was she supposed to do next. Slowly, she got up and looked out the window. The train stopped somewhere she never seen before. Trees surrounding everything she could see, except for a small path between two large rocks. Right behind the trees, Mayuko could see what appeared to be a small village. Mayuko looked around and realized the train's doors had opened. She thought about it and decided that maybe someone in the village could help her get back home. Mayuko left the train. She stopped in front of the dirt path and inspected the two large rocks around it. They had something written on them. Welcome to the village's name was covered by moss. The second rock said to utter the final word. I'll only say then, without saying, nothing more, nothing more. Moss was also covering part of the text. Mayuko frowned, confused. Was that an old poem or something? She didn't know, and she didn't really care. Without any more hesitation, she walked towards the village. At the end of the dirt path, there it was, the seemingly old village, adorned with lanterns all around. The first thing Mayuko noticed was that there was absolutely no one out on the streets. Was everyone inside their houses? Why, Mayuko didn't want to believe the place was abandoned. She insisted on calling for help. Carefully, she walked over to the first house she saw. As she got closer to the shoji Japanese sliding door, a strong smell reached her nose. It came from inside the house. Mayuko ignored it and knocked softly on the shoji. Hello, is anyone there? Asked Mayuko. She waited. Nothing. She knocked again. Could anyone please help me? I'm lost. Mayuko waited eagerly for an answer, but no one came. Assuming no one was home, she moved on to the next house. Once again, she knocked on the shoji and called out to the house's owner, and once again, no one came. No way, Mayuko muttered to herself as she was finally convinced that the village was abandoned. Just as she was about to lose all hope, Mayuko realized the shoji was open all along. Not fully open, just a small gap. Mayuko held her biari as she slid the shoji open. The same smell from before came back. It was pitch black inside the house. Mayuko had to adjust her eyes to the darkness. The floor and walls were soaked with black paint. Whatever it was definitely the source of the smell. Mayuko carefully touched it with her finger. It wasn't paint. It was thick, warm, and sticky. Mayuko cleaned her finger on the trim of her skirt and went back outside. Somehow, the sky seemed even darker than before, and just then she noticed something behind the trees. A torii Japanese gate. It was almost unnoticeable at first sight, but the red paint gave it away. Slowly, she walked closer to it. Behind it, there was an enormous staircase that seemed almost endless. But Mayuko's curiosity got the best of her, so she made her way up as she expected. The stairs led to a shrine, but there was something different about it. It had an eerie atmosphere. Mayuko was suddenly filled with dread. There was something definitely wrong with it. As Mayuko got closer, the feeling of dread grew stronger. With every step, Mayuko's heart pounded faster and faster. She felt as if there was someone watching her. Mayuko opened the shrine's door. The same goddamn smell was now even worse. Mayuko suppressed the urge to puke. The walls and floor were completely covered with the black substance. Not even one corner left out. Right in the middle of the room was a jar, a plain porcelain jar, about the size of Mayuko's arm. For some reason, Mayuko felt out of herself if she had no control over her body. Her head was spinning. She could barely stand up, but she somehow managed to reach the jar and open its lid. And, as if it was magic, she came back to her senses. She backed away and stared at the jar, eyes widened. Nothing happened, absolutely nothing, until the jar started to shake and move around as if it were alive. Mayuko couldn't believe what was happening. She wanted to run, but her legs refused to cooperate. She screamed when an arm came out of the jar, an unnaturally long arm, also covered with the black substance. Its hand had sharp claws which scraped and scratched the ground like a knife. Then another arm appeared, followed by a head, its face hidden behind a dirty porcelain doll mask. Mayuko then realized what she had done. That thing was a demon. She had no doubts about that. Someone had sealed the creature inside the jar after it destroyed the village. But now it was finally free. In the blink of an eye, the demon was completely out of the jar. It was impossibly tall, and its limbs were twisted and contorted in inhuman ways. Mayuko stared at the creature, and the creature stared at her. Carefully, Mayuko tried to leave the shrine. She was almost outside, but the demon suddenly started to walk towards her. Mayuko screamed, turned around, and ran. Everything around her was a blur. She could hear the demon running right behind her, getting closer and closer. While running down the staircase that led back to the village, Mayuko tripped and twisted her ankle. She screamed in pain as she fell down, and, crying out loud, just then she felt something grab her arm. The demon had caught up to her, and its sharp claws were slowly dragging themselves across Mayuko's skin. But she wasn't giving up. Gathering all the courage she had left, Mayuko got up and kept on running, releasing herself from the demon's hands. The staircase felt endless, but eventually Mayuko was back at the village. The demon, realizing his victim was about to escape, desperately tried to reach out for her, but Mayuko was faster. She ran through the dirt path and was surprised to see the train was still there, as if it was waiting for her to come back. Mayuko hoped on the train and looked out the window. The demon wasn't anywhere to be seen. She sighed with relief and cried for what seemed like hours, perhaps because of the throbbing pain in her right arm, or maybe out of disbelief for what had just happened. And she heard a loud thud. The demon was trying to enter the train, but the doors were way too small for him to pass through. Even though he wore a mask, Mayuko could almost see the anger in his expression, his body twitching with rage. Mayuko bravely got to her feet and approached the demon. As soon as she got close, it made a futile attempt to grab her. Without thinking twice, Mayuko screamed and pushed the creature out of the train. Its body was thin, so it didn't take long for the demon to fall to the ground. As the demon was about to make one more attempt at grabbing Mayuko, the train lights suddenly turned back on, and the doors closed. As the locomotive began to move, Mayuko could still hear the creature banging desperately on the door, attempting to open it. Mayuko fell down to the ground, exhausted. It was over, finally over. Her breath was unstable, her eyes still wide from the fear. She stayed there until the train's door opened again, revealing a familiar station in front of her. She was home with her backpack in her hands. She left the train as she walked through the streets. People looked at her and whispered to one another, wondering what had happened to her. It took a while for Mayuko to come up with an excuse for her injuries. She just told her mother that a classmate beat her up at school, and she believed it. There's no way Mayuko would tell her what really happened. She wouldn't believe it. Anyway, that night, Mayuko had trouble sleeping. Asterisk, 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 asterisk. A week later, Mayuko went to the doctor with her mother. They took a train to get to the clinic, and immediately, Mayuko felt a chill down her spine. All the memories from the previous week came flooding back, but she ignored them. Mayuko looked out the window, admiring the landscapes the train passed by, and suddenly she started to recognize her surroundings. She felt her heart drop. That was the place where the dirt path was supposed to be. But there was no path to be found, only to broken down rocks. Story 7. Something's wrong with Madeline. No, Mama. Mama, no. Please, Mama, don't let them take me. I'll be good, I swear, the girl screamed. Tears flowed from her eyes as she thrashed against the two adult women dressed in black. They held her arms firm and pulled her deliberately up a small set of stairs. Now, young one, don't fret so. We are going to help you. You're going to feel better soon, and your mother will be here when you are ready. The woman's voice was reassuring and steady. The young girl's voice became strained, and she drew in a deep breath and begged, "Please don't leave me." The girl managed to turn her head just enough to see the familiar late-model black sedan drive away. "No!" she screamed and pulled hard with her body, desperate to separate herself from the strangers ushering her to her inevitable death. "My goodness, aren't you strong?" the woman said to her. As they neared the heavy, worn wood and front doors, they stopped. The girl's hair was wet, heart beating rapidly. In her ears, breath came in short, frequent gasps. Unable to continue, she went limp. A larger man had been following just behind them. He skipped the next step and reached out to grab the girl before she fell. He cradled her near his chest and looked to the woman silently. She smiled at the man approvingly. The girl's head fell back softly, and she strained to open her eyes. The blinding sun was shaded just before the entrance. She could see a half-moon carving dug into the old, cracking concrete face of the building that declared this to be Mother Mary's Asylum for Wayward Children. She smiled inwardly, knowing she would never see daylight or feel the warmth of the sun on her skin again. There was a painful sting on the side of her neck, and she fell into a nothingness sleep. There was a sound. She focused intently. It was a voice, but it sounded terribly far away. Slowly, it seemed to be getting louder. Was someone speaking to her? Were they walking this way? She strained to open her eyes, but they were not ready. After a moment of silence, she heard it again. It was a woman's voice, but she couldn't place it. What was she saying? The girl took a deep breath and exhaled slowly. She decided to try again. This time she opened her eyes. She was laying down on a thin, overused mattress in a dimly lit room. Everything looked foggy at first. She blinked several times, increasing the pressure each time. She moved to rub them and realized she was unable to move her arms. Madeline, can you hear me, dear? Wake up, Madeline. My name is Sister Kay, and I would very much like to talk to you. My name is Maddie, not Madeline. Why can't I move my arms, Matty? Of course, Matty. Do you know where you are? Matty looked around. The ceilings were quite high, and there was a door, but it had no knob that she could see. There was a tightly barred red window near the ceiling, though it was much high for anyone to reach without a ladder. She could see it was nearing twilight or dawn, depending on how long she was out. The window must have been up, and because there was a sweet, cool breeze that felt fresh and clean. Placed on the table between them was a small candle. The flame danced softly. The dimness made it a bit easier to try to focus, but cast elongated, dark shadows against the walls. No, I don't know where I am. Why can't I move my arms, ma'am? Matty asked. You are in a place that can help you. Your parents, especially your mother, are very worried about you. Your mom told us that you haven't been eating or sleeping, that you're failing all of your classes, and that you only attend school. Occasionally, Sister Kate paused and looked at Matty, hoping to get a response. When none came, she continued, You cannot move your arms because they are attached to the bed. Your father told us about the cool teas and bruises, now burns as well. I see. She turned the child's forearm a bit in the light and emphasized the fresh, pus-filled blister. Sister Kate looked up at the girl with questioning raised eyebrows and awaited a response. He thinks I did it. I didn't do it. It hurts. I hate it. But Dad yells at me. He's so mad all the time. It makes Mama cry sometimes. You love your Mama very much, don't you, Matty? I can tell you do. You wouldn't want to hurt her at all or make her worrying, would you? No, Miss K. Never. She is the only one that. Matty stopped, looked up at the beautiful woman, and restarted. May I please have my arms free, please, Matty? Call me Sister K. I want to free you, child, but I can't. You see, I am going to help you. Your mother says that you believe you have a demon that visits you. He isn't very nice to you, is he? Matty said nothing, just closed her eyes and shook her head softly. She looked back to Sister K, moisture beginning to collect in the corner of her eye. She was afraid to blink. She did not want this woman to see her cry. I'm going to help you. We are going to visit with Sir Stephen tomorrow. Father Stephen is very knowledgeable about demons and spirits. He has made many of them go away and never. Sister Kate touched Matty's chin with one cool finger and tilted her head towards her to ensure she was listening. Ever come back. Matty's eyebrows pulled together in confusion. Sister K, you believe me? The corner of her mouth pulled gently up into a sort of conspirator's smile. It doesn't matter, she said as she stood up. Tell me, Matty, do you know how to pray? I need you to spend tonight in silent prayer and reflect. I need you to pray for guidance and forgiveness. Our body is a temple, child, and we must treat it so. Before anything will help you, you must be honest with us, yourself, and most of all, the Lord. Once we speak to Father, we may be able to release you from the restraints. Until then, we simply cannot risk you hurting yourself, Matty. Sister K stood and took a few steps toward the door. Matty couldn't help but be curious about how she was going to get out with no knob. Sister simply walked up to the door and it opened. Matty thought about the sliding doors at the grocery store. She didn't really understand how those worked either. Sister Kate turned to Matty as the door creaked open. Her face was dark now, being so far from the light. Don't forget, Maddie, pray to the Lord so you may receive his love and forgiveness. The door closed quickly behind her and filled the room with a deep, echoed boom. Maddie, still groggy from whatever it was they had given her earlier, lay in her bed and stared at the small light. She did not pray. Sister Kay did not believe her either. If she had, then she would have allowed her to have the use of her hands. Maddie pulled at the cuffs around her wrists, trying to slide her hands free. She wiggled and jerked, but nothing happened. She stopped when it began to hurt. The small light flickered a bit as the booming sound of thunder came from the window. The weather was about to take a turn for the worse. Of course, there's a storm coming, she whispered to herself. Maddie settled down again and watched the small light until it went out. Thinking about her mother, the girl jolted awake as lightning crashed down. She hadn't realized she had fallen asleep. Her eyes darted about, looking for just a trace of light to help her see, but there was nothing. She listened then. The rain outside the window made a batting sound on the ground. It was a bit soothing, but it also made her think about going to the restroom. She sighed. Sister Kay had left out what she was to do in this situation. Frustrated, she tried to ignore the urge and listened to the rain. Madeline, darling, where are you? I can't find you. The girl listened intently. Mom. The voice was getting louder. It was her mother. Her voice sounded strained and dry, but it was definitely hers. Maddie pulled on the restraints with everything she had. She yanked and rolled and pulled, but they didn't budge. The young girl felt panic creeping up in the darkness. The room seemed to be squeezing in on her. Mom, Mom, she cried. I'm here, Mom. Please, come and help me. Lightning crashed again outside as the rain began to pound on the ground outside. Brilliant light filled the room. Maddie's eyes grew white as she saw the ceiling begin to swell and bow above her head. There was a new sound then. She stared into the darkness and listened intently. It was slow, but becoming louder, like the liquid droplets were growing. Her breath was short and quick, and she couldn't seem to force air deep enough into her lungs. Her chest was tight and hot. There was a splash. Warm liquid sprayed her as whatever it was she had briefly seen in her moment of light had fallen. It smelled putrid and foul. Another bolt of light provided her only a second of sight, but it was enough. The demon had found her. It had never been her mother. The demon was smart and knew how to find her. Maddie's eyes were wide as she stared blindly around her. Her flesh grew tight on her bones as she flailed on the table. The cuffs that held her wrists became slick with warm blood. She felt them slide just slightly. Hope and terror-filled adrenaline flowed through her as she pulled with every last bit of strength she had. Ah! She screamed as her small hands slid free of the restraints. She fell to the concrete floor. She sat up and scooted backwards till she was backed against the cold cement wall. Her head throbbed as blood oozed down the side of her face. She placed 2 fingers on the gash on her head in an effort to assess the injury. She jumped and turned her face to the right as the sound of her bed crashing against the wall filled the room. She stood up and jerked her head left and right. Her palms were flat against the wall behind her. Another deafening crack of lightning illuminated the entire room. It was there, 3 inches from her face, was the rotting skull of the demon. It had no eyes, just deep, black, empty sockets. Small pieces of moist flesh stuck to the elongate head and nose. It raised a long, clawed hand sliced through Maddie's chest and stomach with the ease of a razor. Deep gashes opened and bled. She fell to her knees, hugging her body, trying to stop or slow the bleeding. She was already getting cold and beginning to shake slightly. The monster stepped back and rested on its legs and lengthy arms and growled deeply. Maddie's head was heavy and her panicked breathing had slowed with her injury. She looked up where the monster should be and peered into the darkness. "Just kill me. Why do you do this to me? I'm here because of you. Just kill me," she yelled at the demon. It was quiet then. She could hear a guttural sound that seemed almost happy, a laugh. It was laughing at her. The door swung open and Kitty filled the room from the hall. It was Sister Kay. "Dear Lord, what happened here?" She hurried over to Maddie and tried to see through the blood, to find her injuries. "Help, Ace. I need help," she yelled toward the door. Sister Kay looked at the girl with pleading desperation. "Madeline, what have you done?" And with that, Maddie breathed her last.